You're listening to the Planet 76 podcast, a podcast about 76ers basketball, and we're clear to take off. Let's go. All right, everybody. Welcome to Planet 76, a podcast about the Philadelphia 76ers. I'm one of your co-hosts, Troy, and I've got Michael with me. Michael, what's up, bro?
Hey, what's up? You're going to see me, with a little bit of technical difficulties, you're going to see me fixing my camera a bit.
There you go.
But let's just roll with that because...
Whatever you got to do.
It doesn't really
So...
matter. There we go. We're good now. Technical difficulties, but we're back.
We're going to leave that in there. So, hey, we're a brand new pod covering all things Philadelphia 76ers. Whatever platform you get podcasts, wherever you're listening to right now, hit the subscribe button for us. We would love for you to automatically have our episodes downloaded for you so you can tune in to more of our Sixers content. Hey, maybe you're watching on YouTube and you just saw Michael flipping around his camera. If you haven't, maybe you should go check that out. I don't know. The Philadelphia 76ers are tied with the Hawks, one apiece, as we get ready to do battle down in Atlanta for Game 3 Friday the 11th. So, Michael,
down in the A.
Give us a summary, a brief, we'll get into the details, brief summary about where we're at.
Yes. I still can't get this angle right, but it's okay. we'll run with it. Well, we're talking Game 1, right?
Yep, Game 1, Game 2, and Game 3's tomorrow.
Game 1, Game 2. Well, for starters, I will say that Game 1 was... I guess if I had to pick one word, I would say probably disappointing. I definitely didn't expect that sort of game from the Sixers. I definitely expected more of a fight, especially because Embiid ended up with 39 points. But you know what? The Hawks were just lights out offensively. They couldn't miss from three. They did not actually shoot this number from three, but they seemed like they did. It seemed like they shot 70% from three.
It did.
They couldn't miss. They made all their threes. Everyone was just hitting every shot. And Sixers couldn't compete for most of the game. And I'm pretty sure the Hawks were up by 20 most of the game.
Yeah. Now,
the Sixers only did end up losing by 4, which is, it shows a little bit of the Sixers, but more so the Hawks just choking because, again, the Sixers played horribly. Mm-hmm. But thankfully, in Game 2, we had a little bit of a bounce-back game. Actually, a lot of bit of a bounce-back game. Ended up winning by 16. But, yeah, that was a great game as well. Let me check the notes here.
Yeah, Game 2 was certainly more fun to watch.
Yeah, you said we're going to get into more of Game 1 and Game 2, right?
Yeah, we'll start with Game 1. Let's start there. We'll get the bad out of the way and then jump into the good. So Game 1, I think you hit the nail on the head. It was disappointing.
Cool.
It was frustrating. It was aggravating. It was pretty much every word that goes along with those. It was not fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I want you to correct me.
Bad,
correct me if I'm wrong, or correct me if you disagree, or give your input if you disagree, whatever you want to say. You see things about the Sixers having this second half quote-unquote comeback. To me, that was not a second half comeback. You kind of alluded to it as the Atlanta Hawks choking a little bit. But
I was just going to say, I kind of referred to that a little bit a couple minutes ago. It was more so the Hawks kind of choking rather than the Sixers doing anything positive.
Yeah, to end up losing by 4, I think that if you're going to give the Sixers any credit, okay, but that credit belongs to me to like the last 4-5 minutes of the game, meaning the Hawks dominated us, and they did for 43 to 44 minutes of that entire game, and we kind of turned it on or whatever at the end. Hawks had turnovers and issues and things, but to lose that by 4, I don't know. It didn't seem like that. And every time, like before that run we went on, every time we seemed to get a couple buckets in a row, someone would make a 3. We would cut it to 14, and boom, 2 threes in a row, it's back to 20. Yeah, that was probably the most frustrating part, because every time we looked like, okay, well, we're gonna make a run at this thing. We're gonna, it's gonna be an 8-point game in the fourth. It wasn't. We were down 16 or 17 going into the fourth quarter of that one. So what went wrong ultimately? Why don't we just camp out on that? What went wrong in Game 1? besides
Well, I mean,
them hitting
for me,
every shot.
Yeah. For me, I mean, the Sixers' defense was, for the most part, non-existent because the Hawks ended up with 128. And again, you can probably attribute that mostly to the Hawks just playing lights out offensively. But the Sixers' defense was pretty much non-existent. I mean, Embiid was really the only one that scored. I know Simmons had like 18 or something. And everyone, and I think Tobias had a nice game anyway. But, I mean, for the most part, we just missing shots, turning the ball over, foul trouble, a lot of negatives from the Sixers, and just not enough. I mean, really just not enough. Just too much sloppy play, really, is what it boils down to. Turning the ball over and just playing sloppy, honestly.
Yeah. So many turnovers early on. I think Danny Green, oh my goodness, he must know exactly.
Oh, Danny Green in that game and in game 2.
He's just don't get me started. He must know exactly what the back of Trae Young's head looks like, if we're being honest, because he was staring at that the entire game.
Yeah.
It was literally every possession that he was guarding Trae Young. Trae Young got by him with ease, and Danny Green was just chasing him from behind. Like it was so frustrating.
Man.
And then you hear Doc Rivers post game, saying, "Well, it was a team defense kind of thing." And to Danny's credit or Doc's credit, second half was a little better in game 1, team defense on Trae Young. But it was like, dude, something's got to change. And luckily for us, something did change in game 2. But I think the all bench unit. What was your thought on that segment that they had?
I don't know. Now, game 2 was a little better in that area. I know we're going to get into game 2, but game 1, I mean, why are we running all bench lineups in the playoffs, man? Why are we doing that, Doc? Doc, if you're listening, man, what are you doing? You're not listening to this podcast. I know you aren't, but if you are, what are you doing? We can't be running all bench lineups in the playoffs. I know that they were down for literally the entire game, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But all bench lineups, it's not the thing to do in the playoffs. That's what the regular season is for. You did that, great, Doc. No more, dude. No more of that. We don't need it anymore.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about when we're referring to this all bench unit, the unit went a negative 14 as a collective in their possessions that they were in the ball game. 8 possessions total.
It's horrible.
5 turnovers in 8 possessions and 0 points when they were out there as a collective unit.
It's horrible, man. They're turning the ball over almost every time they have it. That's horrible.
It was bad. It was very bad. And to even point out how bad it was, I thought it was very, very interesting to see that the entire Sixers starting unit finished with a positive plus-minus. I'm like the plus-minus guy. I'm always looking at that. But for a losing team in the playoffs, for your entire starting 5 to finish as a positive plus-minus is like really shocking. And that just shows how bad the bench was.
Yeah, it's interesting, to say the least. Yeah.
And the Atlanta Hawks starting lineup didn't have anybody in the positive in game 1. Their highest plus-minus was 0.
Crazy.
And they won the game. That it just shows how bad the bench was.
Crazy how that works. Crazy.
Obviously part of that's due to those last 4 minutes with the starters out there making things happen, but it was pretty crazy. And I think offense wasn't the problem. We shot a better percentage from the field than the Hawks did. Defending Trae Young was the problem. Defense overall was the problem. Defending shooters, they had 20 3-point shots made. There was a lot that went wrong in game 1. Sixers lost by 4. Crazy. It did not feel good. I don't know where else we want to go with game 1. If you have anything else on game 1. But just some of those numbers are pretty wild.
I mean, honestly, I just want to forget about game 1. That was horrible.
Right.
And that was not. I made a post about it. That is not the Sixers. That was not who the Sixers are. Like, we've seen this team at full strength offensively and defensively for the regular season, that was not an accurate representation of who the Sixers are. And as I'm sure we're about to get into, they showed us who they really are in Game 2.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we're going to see the rest of the series.
Yep.
They know what they have to do now. Obviously, the Hawks will make adjustments, but let's be honest. Sixers are a better team. I said it last series, too, with the Wizards. The Sixers are the better team. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Don't let one game sway you in the other direction. If you were picking the Sixers, stay there because the Sixers are the better team. And I'm sorry to anyone else who disagrees with me or who thinks otherwise. You're wrong.
Politely,
they're the number one seed for a reason.
Exactly.
They're the number one seed for a reason. Respectfully.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah. I couldn't agree more. I think, the one player that did not choke for the Hawks, and Lord knows we might have won that game if he didn't, was Bogdanovich. We cut it to 3 with a minute to play.
That dude's good.
That dude, at late shot clock, a minute to play, buried a 3, shushed the crowd.
He's good. That 3 he hit.
Yeah. It kind of ended it for us. And then, we had a couple more loose ball pickups. Ben got a dunk to cut it to 2. Crazy.
Yeah.
And then Bogey hit 2 more free throws.
Yes, I do remember that.
He was the guy that actually finished us.
And then they got a clear path foul on John Collins.
Yep, the clear path foul, which at that point I thought it was over, but I think it was after that where, we got a couple steals, got a 5-second violation called on them. They did everything they could to blow that game, and luckily for them, they had Bogey on their team to save the day. But Sixers dropped Game 1. Moving on, Game 2. Game 2.
Clean slate.
Clean slate. We're done. Okay, what did we like in Game 2? What happened in Game 2?
Well, I really liked the trio of Curry, Harris, and Embiid. I mean, they just to put it simply, they carried the offense. They carried the scoring load all night. 83 of their 118 it was 118 of the Sixers' total points. Those 3 had. Embiid had 40. Tobias had 22. Seth Curry had 22, I think, as well. I mean, it was great. Honestly, it was great to see. Really great. I would say third quarter, but it was mostly the fourth quarter because that's when Shake started to go off, and I know we'll get into Shake a little bit in the podcast, in this episode. And then also here we have Gallinari and Herter. Yeah, they went off. They had 16 apiece, I think.
They had 15 apiece at half. I think
honestly,
they finished
that's
with
the story
21.
for Atlanta. Their bench, yes. Atlanta's bench is really what gets the job done for them. Trae Young's going to do his thing, but when you have guys like Herter, Gallinari off the bench like that, and they're missing DeAndre Hunter, and they're missing Cam Reddish, I mean, these guys have a lot of scorers off the bench and threats to score.
Yeah.
So that really is what gets the job done for Atlanta. And then, I'm going to go back to Embiid, Harris, Curry. I mean, Tobias Harris had an amazing first quarter. I think he had like 12 in the first quarter, which was crazy. Yep. And then Curry was hitting some nice shots. Seth Curry was hitting some fantastic shots.
Tobias had 16 in 8 minutes.
At this point,
in the first quarter.
I don't even have to say it.
Yeah.
Oh, he had 16
on 8 of 9 shooting in the first.
Crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah, he was going off.
Yeah.
He was going off.
And then, another thing
other than that
is, Ben Simmons came out the gate guarding Trae Young. That was a relief. Yeah. I don't know what I would have done if I saw Danny Green follow Trae Young around one more time.
Torch. Yeah.
We came out the gate early, real hot. It felt real good. 33-20 after the first quarter. Hawks run, they got back into it. That's for sure. It would have been nice if we would have, kept them at arm's length the whole game, but they got right back into it. And the difference, as you alluded to, was the bench. 15 apiece from Gallinari and Kevin Herter in the first half alone. Our bench had, guess what, 0 again to that point. And then something interesting happened in the third quarter. Michael, I'm going to let you talk about this one because I know he's your guy. What happened interesting in the third quarter, end of the third?
I mean, Shake Milton came through in the most Shake Milton way possible because this man has been MIA for weeks now. which I love Shake. Everybody knows that. But where have you been, Shake? I guess I can't really complain because he came up insanely clutch in this game. He dropped 14 in the fourth quarter. I think he scored 8 straight points with 2 threes.
Yep.
And he had that really nice buzzer beater at the end of the third quarter. That was so awesome.
Yep.
But Shake Milton, I would argue Shake Milton literally won us this game. I mean,
yeah.
Without him, we're losing.
Yeah.
Honestly, like he had 14, we only won by 18. If he didn't go on a tear like that spark plug off the bench, which by the way is exactly what we got him and have him for.
Yeah.
If we didn't have that, who knows? We could be talking about a totally different outcome, and this series could be going to Atlanta with an 0-2 deficit for the Sixers, and who knows? Maybe I wouldn't be saying the Sixers are a better team than the Hawks. No, they still are.
Yeah, shake and bake, baby. He just made. He was the difference.
Yes, sir.
End of the third, early fourth. It was a tight game. Our bench had done nothing, and then Doc Rivers calls this guy off the bench who had done nothing for weeks. Gutsy call from Doc. Gotta love it. You gotta feel happy for Shake. I mean, that was so fun to watch. 14-0 run. While he was in the game for that first segment, we went on a 23-4 tear, and it was over. Shake Milton.
I wonder what made Doc do that. What made him put Shake in at that time, and why? But I mean, I'm glad he did it. It's just that he hasn't. I don't think he's really been giving Shake consistent minutes, especially with Maxey and Hill. It makes you think. I mean, was Doc like, okay, Shake, let's go? I mean, I don't really even know how that happens. I'm glad it did.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure how it happened.
Yeah, Maxey struggled a little bit. I guess that might have played into it. Maxey only played 5 minutes, believe it or not, in Game 2. George Hill, 19 minutes. Shake only had 14, and he was a plus 15 in those 14 minutes. He just came and got the job done. The bench maybe having 0 points to that point had something to do with it. He said, all right, what does Shake have to lose? What's he going to do? Lose minutes? He already lost them. Just go out there, do your thing. And that looked to me like the Shake that, like, we've come to know and love, or whatever you want to say. Like, we've come to expect that kind of takeover from him, that kind of you could just tell by the way he was dribbling the ball that he was, like, dialed in. Like, he was just ready to go out there and make something happen. He had couple big assists to Dwight Howard early in the fourth. He was just confident, and this is probably a guy who, coming in, you and I, or Sixers fans around, whoever, probably thought this guy didn't have any confidence right now, and he sure did. Props to Shake Milton, man. He won us that game.
Yeah, for sure.
He won us that game.
Definitely.
This is completely off the wall, but I'm just going to say it.
Let's hear it.
Tony Brothers, referee.
Oh, boy.
He sucks.
That whole officiating crew sucks.
He's terrible. Tony Brothers, there was...
Some of those calls they made, did you see?
There were 3 or 4 straight calls, literally back-to-back possessions that Tony Brothers missed. 2 against us, 1 against the Hawks, and I'm just like, what is this guy doing? 3 or 4 times in a row, and I'm like, what? I wrote that down as soon as I saw it. I was like, I gotta bring that up, because Tony Brothers had a terrible game, or at least a terrible stretch right there.
Did you see, I don't know if you saw, but there was one, I forget when exactly it was. I'm guessing it was probably the third quarter. Trae Young traveled. It was absolutely obvious and in your face. It was a clear travel. Nothing. No, not a single whistle, not a single anything. He walked with the ball. Nothing. Don't they have 3 referees down there?
It was bad.
How does not a single person of those 3 see that? We see it on TV. I saw it. I was watching it on TV. I could see it. How are they not seeing that? I don't understand.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
That
The Tony brothers, Scott Foster, just horrible. I don't know how they are able to officiate for years and years with no repercussions for missing calls and blatantly giving teams wins and selling games for other teams. How did they just do that?
I don't know. It was bad. That I do remember that. I think
Crazy.
the sequence I'm talking about was in the second quarter, I want to say. One of the plays involved Embiid, I forget what it was, but I'm just like, what?
Was it the technicals on
might have been that,
Gallinari
or
and
the play that had led to that.
Yeah, where Gallinari pushed Embiid.
Yeah, I forget what it was.
And then he fell too to sell it even more.
Yeah, but there were a few. It might have been like an.
Yeah.
I forget, but it was bad, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
But
horrible.
thought I'd throw that in there. Otherwise, game 2 was pretty good to watch. Again, if we had to nitpick a little bit, it might have just been the fact that we let the Hawks back in it after such a great start. The end of the second quarter was awful. The fact that we were only up 2 points at halftime, I felt terrible about.
Gallinari and I guess it was Herder hit 3 straight threes or something crazy like that to get the Hawks back in it.
Yep, and then Bogey came in the third hot. He hit a couple.
Yeah.
But man,
crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, but hey, at the end of the day, the Sixers and the Hawks are tied at 1 apiece
I'll take the win.
heading into Game 3 tomorrow night, Friday, on ESPN at 7:30. So let's just dive into some keys there. Like what's key for the 76ers? I'm going to start with one. I think what's going to be very huge to watch, I think everybody knows what's coming, is how we're going to defend Trae Young. Game 2 was obviously much better. The second half of Game 1 was better. However, in a series, every team makes adjustments. We made ours in Game 2. We got the win. What are the Hawks going to do to free up Trae? You know he's going to, he went 6 for 16. I think he was 0 for from 3. He might have made 1. But what are they going to do? What's their counter going to be? Are they just going to try and sell fouls and get 2 quick ones on Ben Simmons so he's back on Danny Green? Like, what's it going to be? What's their adjustment going to be, and how would the Sixers react to that? That's what I'm going to be looking for in Game 3.
For sure. For me, I mean, major key, I'm just going to leapfrog off what you're saying. Is that the saying, leapfrog, or is it piggyback? It doesn't matter. Anyway, defending Trae Young. I mean, obviously, I think the Hawks are realizing now that Simmons is going to guard Young, and that's pretty much obvious, especially now because it works, and we know that it works, but we didn't see it in Game 1 that much because Simmons was in foul trouble. So I think the Hawks are just going to take the same route they did Game 1. They're going to try and get Simmons in foul trouble because they know that Simmons guards Young very well. And I think obviously just guarding Trae Young is what's gonna be able to get them this win, because I mean the bench for the Hawks did what they did and the Sixers still won by 18. So if you can limit Trae Young's scoring and his getting to the rim and free throws, I mean obviously he's a great perimeter scorer, but limiting his opportunities on the inside and from the free throw line is what's gonna help you out a lot. So I would say limiting Trae Young and defending Trae Young is probably the major key.
Sure.
Because again, you don't know on their bench. You don't know what guys are going to go off one night. It could be Herder, Gallinari, it could be Lou Williams. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah.
But
no, that's the thing.
I think Trae Young is key.
That's the thing. The bench. Another aspect of this team that we clearly have to worry about because of what they've been able to produce so far. We've mentioned their name a ton, but give them credit. They deserve it to be mentioned because of what they've been doing. Which, again, what we talked about in our preview episode of the round was like, okay, this Atlanta team has all these shooters, has all these playmakers, has all these people that can fill it up. And in a lot of offensive ranks and shooting ranks, they're like middle of the pack. It just doesn't make sense. And we're kind of seeing the fact that it doesn't make sense because they made 23s in Game 1. a couple guys off the bench really shooting the lights out. That could be a problem as well. I think we gotta. It's tough though, because how you defend Trae Young, and if you're gonna sell out to limit him, you're gonna leave some guys open. That's just the reality of it. And to the Sixers' credit, their strategy in Game 2 worked, and it was more so leaning toward that and giving other guys looks. And credit to them, they knocked them down, but not enough. And Sixers were able to come out with a W in Game 2. What about your man Shake Milton? What do we need from him? I mean, is he back? You think he's getting his minutes back? How's that going to work out rotation wise? Because Maxi's played well too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be a sort of alternating thing where if Maxi's hot one night, he can get the minutes. If Shake is hot one night, he'll get the minutes. Because let's be honest, both are very capable of providing that spark. However, and I mean they are different players because Maxi does it in his own way, Shake does it in his own way. We've seen both of them do it. I just think now Shake can build on this and become a actual consistent option for this team off the bench, because last year in the playoffs he actually played really well, but he was a starter. And as much as we would have needed some help in the starting lineup, either way, the starting lineup was horrible last postseason outside of Embiid. So having Shake off the bench now is a luxury, and he needs to take advantage of that and build on this performance and give us more of that, more and more as the playoffs go on, because we need it. Every team needs that.
Yeah, I think we need Shake to come out again with that confidence that he had. I mean, this was the Shake that, again, he puts the ball on the floor, he puts the ball up, you think it's going in. Like, he just played with that kind of swagger out there, which we hadn't seen in a couple weeks, and so it was really good to see. He's got to keep that up. We need it. Clearly, our bench had 0 points before he checked in, and he was able to really, really turn the tide in Game 2, so we do need that. I think the Sixers, I've been watching a lot of the playoffs this year. I've definitely seen every team so far, definitely seen all 8 teams that remain, and we are for sure playing more guys than any other team, it seems like. And I don't know if I love that or hate that. Like the Bucks and the Nets, I don't know what they finished at. They played tonight. Bucks actually got a W in that one, 2-1. They trail now, but like they each played like 8 guys. We're playing 8 guys, 10 guys in the first quarter. And now, again, getting back to Shake getting minutes, you got to expect that we're going to see Shake and Tyrese Maxey in Game 3. We're going to see George Hill. We're going to see Furk, I think. He could end up being an odd man out. I don't know. We're going to see Dwight. We're going to see Matisse, of course. But, man, we're playing a lot of guys.
I think I'm hoping at least that will sort of cut down as the playoffs progress, because I mean it's nice having that many available players to use, but also if some guys aren't playing great, you want to give those minutes to someone else. And when you have teams like you mentioned, the Bucks, even the Suns play 8 guys off their bench. They play Cam Johnson. I think they play Campaign, and they play Dario, I think. Yep. Those are their 3 guys off the bench, and then they play their starting 5, and that's it.
Yeah. Not us.
And then the Bucks even, they play, if PJ Tucker isn't starting, PJ Tucker, they would have Dante DiVincenzo, but he's after the season. And then
Bobby Portis.
I don't even know who else they have off the bench. Bryn Forbes. Yep. Bobby Portis. That's their benching unit. Literally, that's it. And then they'll play, I think they have one more guy they'll play occasionally if it's a close, if it's a
Is Connaughton healthy?
But
I think Connaughton.
Oh, yeah. Maybe, you know what? Maybe they do play 10 guys, because they do play Connaughton. He was getting a minute tonight and in prior games. But either way, the point stands. Teams
we can't
use
relate.
their whole bench, and the Sixers do, which could be an issue, could be not an issue. We'll see. Like I said, as the playoffs progress, I hope that it sort of trims down a little bit, but we'll see.
We will, and I guess it's a good problem. It's a bad problem when your bench goes negative 14 in 8 possessions, but That's neither here nor there. We don't want to go back there. But let's talk about our two cornerstone pieces to cap this one off. So Ben Simmons, I, for one, thought that Ben played great in Game 1, minus the turnovers. He was perfect from the field. That chase down block he had on John
17
Collins.
points, 10 rebounds.
You remember that in Game 1?
That was nice.
Oh, my goodness. I exploded.
The alley-oop that he blocked,
Yes.
or I guess it was an alley-oop.
He turned the ball over, and he hustled down the floor, made an incredible. Yeah, you don't see guys blocking alley-oop off the glass, and that was phenomenal. He came out the gate in the second half ready. Played some intensity on Trae, picked up a couple fouls, but I thought Ben played well in Game 1. I thought Joel played well in Game 1 and 2, of course. But
Agreed.
Let's just talk about Ben for a little bit. What do we like? What do we need to see more from him? That kind of thing.
Well, at least in Game 2, I definitely would like to see him score more than 9 points. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. I mean, I would like to see him at least get a season average, which I think a little under 15. 15 a game in the playoffs, that's fine.
Yeah.
With some great defense, passing, playmaking, stuff like that, and just I think he has had one of the highest plus minuses for this team and for each series, because I think he's been one of the highest plus minus players on the court for most of the playoffs so far. So I just want to see that from him. Just impactful, just contributing to winning, whether it be through passing, defense, scoring 17 points in Game 1 like you mentioned when need be. I mean, I really don't have any problems with Simmons so far in this playoffs, and he's been somewhat aggressive. Definitely a little bit more so in the Wizards series.
Yeah.
But again, I think he's just going to be continuing to be impactful throughout the playoffs, and that's fine by me.
Yeah. He only had 4 points on 3 shots in Game 2.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, yeah, you definitely want to see him shoot more.
You do, and.
Yeah. 3 shots, I mean, you can shoot a little more than
some of that's with Tobias shooting 19 times, Embiid shooting 25 and 16 free throws. I mean, that dude was running the show. Seth Curry, 8 for 13, 5 of 6 from 3 in Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
Ben played really well. Ben played really well. He's averaging 3 steals a game, averaging a couple blocks, for these 2 games so far. His turnovers were down. He had 17, 10 assists, 4 steals, 1 block in Game 1. Very, very active, very aggressive on both ends. It looked good. I would love to see the Ben from Game 1 return because I think we're going to need it on the road. I just think we're going to need it.
Definitely.
So
you're going to need all we can get on the road, honestly.
Yeah. All right. The big fella on a partially torn, slightly torn, whatever you want to call it, meniscus. If you recall our last episode a week ago, if you go run that back, we look not silly because we didn't know, but we're like, well, Embiid's not playing Game 1. Well, he'll sit until we lose. Well, maybe he's out until we hit the road. Well, maybe he's out until this series is over. No, against all odds, 30 minutes before tip-off of Game 1, Joel Embiid says, I'm playing. And then he goes out and drops 39.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned in our first episode, like you mentioned that we mentioned in our first episode that we weren't sure if Embiid was going to play. I also made some posts about it on my account, and I was like, if Embiid's not going to play, I mean, they should really be cautious with him because we need him for the playoffs. Meanwhile, we had no idea this was happening. Everyone was commenting on my stuff and like DMing me. They were like, he's going to play. I was like, how do you even know? Like, some dude sent me a text message screenshot. Somebody like someone he knew is like friends with Embiid something or like friends with somebody who knows Embiid, and they're like, yo, he's gonna be fine. I was like, am I supposed to just believe this? Right. But hindsight's 2020, and I guess I should have believed it because it was right, and he played not only Game 1 but he played Game 2, which is insane because we were expecting him to not play and to be on a partially torn meniscus. You don't see that, man. You don't see that.
I can't.
You don't.
I can't believe he played. 39.
I can't
backs
believe
up
it.
With a playoff career high, 40 in Game 2. And he looked good. I didn't necessarily. Okay, if I were watching those games and I didn't know anything, about him being injured, then I wouldn't have thought anything was wrong. Now, of course, your eyes are on him. You see him limp once or twice, or you see him flailing around on the floor for loose balls. That hold your breath. I mean, you do that anyway with Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
But a partially torn meniscus, the same injury. Now, again, obviously the severity for DeAndre Hunter is more so, but DeAndre Hunter's out for the playoffs with a partially torn meniscus. They just announced that a couple days ago, and so hats off to Joel. He says, I'm playing through the pain. He says, I'm here to win a championship. And he's out there doing what he can for this team. So
and he does.
We're relying on him.
Yeah.
I mean, do we need to rely on 40 a game from Embiid the rest of the series? You hope not, but what's your thought on that?
Yeah, you don't want to rely on Embiid that heavily. Obviously, we know he's fully capable of doing it every game, but number one, you don't want to do that because injury, even though we just talked about how great he's playing on his injury, you don't want to take advantage of it too much because you don't want to risk it getting worse. Number two is that your supporting cast is good enough to the point where you shouldn't need 40 a night from Embiid. 30 a night, okay, that's great. 28 a night, maybe a little more. 30 a night's probably good. But you see Seth Curry, he's been balling out in the playoffs. Tobias Harris been balling out in the playoffs. Simmons can give you what he needs. Green can give you what he needs. And then combined with some nice effort from the bench, you shouldn't need Embiid to get 40 a night because we need that well-roundedness to be able to what's the word I'm looking for? To match other teams' offense. Nets, Bucks.
Yeah.
Whether it be them, even the Jazz if we end up playing the Jazz somehow, or the Suns. The Suns are a great offensive team.
Yeah.
You need that well-roundedness.
Yeah, you don't want to rely on 40. We had a couple games with the Wizards that we did that, what you're alluding to. We had 4 guys with 20, 22, somewhere in there. We had Tobias go off. Someone else take the load. Someone, let Joel go out and shoot 12 times and get 20 points and get to the line a bunch. And that would be nice. Something else that is just nuts, considering the conversation we were having a week ago, is that Joel Embiid led the team in minutes in both of these games. 38 in Game 1 and 35 in Game 2. He was certainly not on a minute restriction. We thought he was going to go 0 minutes, and he played 38. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You hope that he doesn't have to drop 40. We'll see what happens. His plus-minus is absolutely through the roof, though, for this series. They were in Game 2. I remember the TNT crew said it. Game 2, at halftime, we were up by 2. And Joel Embiid was a plus 16 at halftime, meaning that the 5 minutes he didn't play in the first half, we lost by 14. The dude, and I saw a tweet actually. Some Sixers page or Sixers account I follow was like, do we know what year this is? The Sixers bench can't score. Joel Embiid, when he's not on the floor, we suck. Like, is this back in the Amir Johnson days? What's going on?
Oh, no. Oh, man.
Hilarious. But shout out to the big fella. The big fella also, second place officially in the MVP voting. Ben Simmons, second place in Defensive Player of the Year. Major shouts there. What's your take on Ben Simmons? We kind of expected Joel Embiid. We kind of expected Ben Simmons as well, but I sure would have loved to see him win it. I know I've seen a couple posts of yours on it, so what do you think?
I mean, I made a post about it today and yesterday, but I was kind of expecting Gobert to win it, especially after, like, April. I wanted Simmons to win. I wish he won. But I pretty much was under the impression Gobert was going to win. I dropped my award predictions, like, early April, I think, and I was like, I think the players, I think, will win each award. And Gobert, I thought he would win D-Boy, and he did. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not really too mad about it. I know Ben Simmons is still an otherworldly defender because I watch Sixers games and I see that. But I'm not too mad about it, honestly. Same thing with Embiid. I wish he would have won. Yeah. But I think Jokic was the winner, and I picked him to win, and I was right. And both deserve it, I guess. I mean, you can make arguments all you want and here and there and all that stuff, which I have and I could. But it is what it is, and they both said it. We're trying to compete for a championship. That's it is what it is. It is what it is, you know?
You know, Rudy Gobert is kind of turning into what LeBron is to the MVP award, or has been to the MVP award in a way. Not that Rudy Gobert is LeBron James, but Rudy Gobert with Defensive Player of the Year. This is his third one. And when he doesn't get it, so say if he didn't get it this year, like he's top 2, top 3, top 5. And I can see that for the foreseeable future. And with the MVP in particular, like you can say LeBron could have won 10 in his career. He doesn't have 10 in his career. But I can kind of see maybe something similar happening with Rudy over the next few years. Hopefully Ben will get one under his belt here next year after. Doc said he thinks Ben will get one and Joel will win the MVP at some point. So high praise from the coach.
Definitely.
Anything else? We're in the ATL tomorrow. What's your goal? Will you take a split?
So.
Do you want to be up 3-1 coming back to the center? Like, what's the?
No, I want 3-1. I don't want to split. I want 3-1. We need it. I gotta have it.
Let's go. Gotta have it. Gotta have it. Shut up, the Atlanta Hawks.
3-1 after this weekend. Well, game 2 is on Monday.
Embiid's dropping a 50 ball. And we're gonna come home and close it out in 5. Let's do it. Let's do it. Especially
into existence.
Seeing the Nets struggle tonight, getting the loss to the Bucks. That feels good. I thought the Nets were otherworldly, unbeatable, like everybody else. But the Bucks get one today. Felt good to watch that. Drew Holiday with a clutch bucket at the end. Giannis still can't make a free throw. Giannis got called for another 10-second violation. It's comical. If you haven't watched the Bucks, you should watch that. Little bonus, but hey, I think that's it. This is Planet 76. Subscribe, drop a comment, send us an email, follow us on Instagram, whatever you got to do. The Sixers are in Atlanta tomorrow night.
Follow us on Instagram. Do it now.
Ride. Peace.
Let's go.
You just listened to an episode of the Planet 76 podcast. Hey, we appreciate you joining us for this episode. Whatever platform you're on, why don't you hit that subscribe button for us, and we'll see you next time.